Hey everybody. I had a absolutely fascinating trip to Tennessee. I'm finally home. It was a little intense, but it was really good. What should I do first? My computer just booted up by itself. That's really strange. You hear it? It wasn't doing that earlier. It's like it wants to wake up. Hold on. The time was 11:01 when I went to turn it on. I think I need to do a system reboot over there. It seems like it was trying to log in by itself over and over again. Who knows how long it was happening for. But there's some kind of message in there. Self-starting. Something happening automatically entering the next chapter because of sustained growth. Okay. So, I figured out one of the Kings of Cups. One was my ex-best friend, who, we started talking again in small chunks. And another Nine of Wands, King of Cups, was my brother. When we went on this cup, familial love. When we went on this trip, now my battery's at 10%. Interesting. Okay, round 3. I didn't know that my baby brother was coming with us. I knew he was going, but I didn't know he was riding in the car with us. I didn't know that I was going to be sharing a room with them. I didn't know any of that stuff. And it's funny because we shared a room when we were younger, and that was a big point of contention in our relationship. Not having privacy, not having space, feeling like nothing's really yours, like it's all communal, all shared. And I think that started some kind of division that's still healing to this day. I don't get to spend a terrible amount of time with my brother, but the time we do spend, it's good. We're bonding. And it's not totally effortless yet, but we're getting there. And I think this trip was a big part of getting to that. Turns out we have really similar taste in music. I don't think we could have discovered that outside of a car trip, a road trip. If we hadn't broken down 2 hours in and spent like 3 hours at an auto shop playing board games on our phones, I'm not sure we would have had that time to bond, you know what I mean? So there were certain parts of this trip that I think were orchestrated in a way that allowed us to spend time together in order to kind of bridge that gap. And I think there's definitely karmic relationships in our past. There's some kind of mirror there, because when I broke up with my ex, he broke up with his. And we both ended up in situations where we were starting over right around the same time. Not the same circumstances, but major life shakeups, A lot of things were similar in that regard. And I'm not sure I ever would have made that connection or realized that I even needed to focus on it. Because sometimes with family, the people right in front of you, those are the hardest ones to see. Sometimes. But once again, I think we made a lot of progress here. And that wasn't all. I think there was a lot of progress with my mom too. I think I understand her better than I did before. And I hope that she understands me better than she did before. But there's some things, like she's changed a lot, but she is still working on self-awareness. And sometimes I don't think she understands the things she says. But that's who she is, and she's working on it. And sometimes that's what you can do. So I again had to practice a little bit of self-isolation when it came to some of the more, I want to say offensive. I think offensive is the right word, because there's certain topics you can kind of use the right words and dance around a concept or an idea and display it in a way that's not overtly going to be abrasive to somebody that is being overtly abrasive towards you. But there were certain things that she put that would have gotten a reaction out of me. And what I had to do was run to the bathroom, you know? I had to spend a minute by myself, gather my foundation, and rejoin a minute later, and that's okay. Sometimes it's better to not react, to not have the blowout. And I can tell in her own way, she's trying. She'll still do or say the offensive thing, but then she'll tack on, you know, but what I did or what I said wasn't out of judgment. And you know, it's progress. And I think in her own way, she does love me, which was in question before. And I love her unconditionally. And it's getting to a point now, after visiting so many times recently, that I don't think it's become difficult anymore to reconcile the feelings once I leave. Some of the other times it was hard to not feel angry. And even this time, I recognized anger in myself at some of the things that were said, or some of the way that things were phrased, or some of the, let's be real, even though she was trying to come from a place of non-judgment, some of the judgments that she made without even realizing that's what she was doing. Because what she said was dripping with them. And in her mind, she was being open-minded. She wasn't even aware enough to realize that she was being judgmental. But that was still a hell of a lot better than before. And you know, when it came to a lot of the big issues from when I was a teenager, like my sexuality or my religious views or things like that, she admitted that she was influenced a lot by outside forces, by outside people that told her that she should be pinning me down. And we both agreed that when she stopped doing that, when she started letting me be myself, even though the relationship was broken at that point and I was on my way out the door, and I needed to do that. I needed to be independent. I needed to be away. She realized that when she started to release her own judgments and her own, like, she had the realization, I guess specifically, Spirit wants me to bring this up. One of her big points of contention was morality, religion. She believed that me being in a relationship with another man was going to send me to hell and blah, 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 blah. And at one point, I told her straight up, like, it's not between you, me, and God. That is between me and God, or whatever I hold in that space. And I couldn't phrase it exactly like that when I was a teenager, but that's the point I made. And that's when she finally backed off. But by that point, I was already moving out. She's much, much more tolerant now. And now, the issues that she's dealing with are more broad and more current with today's big conversations in politics and regarding identity and sexuality. She's struggling with a lot of those concepts now. And now homosexuality, old news. But she's trying. And there's going to be ups and downs in that relationship, and she's going to trigger me sometimes. And that's just part of this. But what I know is that I can handle my reactions, that I can heal my bond with my brother, that spending time with family doesn't have to end in a blowout, that no matter what the drama or the situations or the opinions, I'm still so grateful for my family. We did this thing where we put a little note about what we're grateful for in a glass turkey, and everybody read it, and then we burned them afterwards. and it was a beautiful little ceremony, and everybody had great messages.